Hey, my good friends here at C506. We know that many of you are big fans of tabletop role-playing games or TTRPGs. And here we have one of those big names in the industry. Maybe you have been playing the Call of Cthulhu, but you don't know who's behind that. And this guy over here is one of them. We have here Mr. Mike Mason, creative director of Call of Cthulhu and Chaosium in general. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm great, thanks. Thanks for inviting me on to talk. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for accepting this. I guess that you're a very busy guy.
I can be at times, yeah.
Okay, so the Call of Cthulhu right now has released a couple of, how can you say, expansions, alternate adventures. Well, Calls of Cthulhu is like an expansion, but the other one is like it's an adventure, right?
Yeah. One is the Cults of Cthulhu is a source book and expansion with lots of material in there, but it also comes with 3 adventures. And then the other book we've just released is called A Time to Harvest, and that is a campaign. So that's a series of 6 adventures all linked together to play out as one big adventure.
Okay, so in this case, when there is these kind of adventures, how difficult is, for example, to take? I know that in the end, TTRPG has a rule book, which is most a guide, but in this case, I think that it's the players and the keeper, the ones who agree, to change the rules. So, for example, how difficult is to get maybe characters or some new features from A Time to Harvest to the main game?
It's really simple. I mean, if you already play Call of Cthulhu, it's as simple as deciding to play A Time to Harvest, and you can either bring your existing investigator characters into the campaign, or we recommend that you may want to think about maybe creating some new characters who are students or academic staff at the Miskatonic University in Arkham, because that's where some of the adventure is based. But if you don't want to do either of those things, the adventure book actually comes with 10 ready-made, ready-to-play investigators. So you can pick one straight out of the book and you're ready to play straight away. So there's no real barrier to getting into the game in terms of being a player. And if you as keeper, if you've played and used the Call of Cthulhu starter set, or if you've just gone ahead and bought the main keeper rule book for the game, again, you can start playing this without much preparation. Just a good, read it through, make a few notes, and you are good and set to go once you've got a group of players together to meet around a table or play online on a virtual tabletop or similar.
Okay. Well, that's great to know that it's easy, because some people think that this is too complicated. I have been playing also. Well, I stopped doing it because of time matters, but yeah, I am familiar with tabletop RPGs, so I know what you're talking about. Calls of Cthulhu, it's focused more into the antagonists, so you can create your own villains, antagonists, or whatever. This is some kind of a twist, because this way, I think, well, I have been reading part of that work, and it allows you to create non-unidimensional characters. So as a creative director, what is the main how can I say, policy or rule that you use when you approve or not approve something? Say something, this is something I would like to play, or what is your main rule when you approve something?
Well, the main rule is it cool? Does it add something of value to the game? And would it be a cool gaming experience to use this material or to play through this adventure or campaign? And if the answer is yes to those kind of questions, then that's the kind of thing we'd be very interested in, and that's what we like to do. We at the end of the day, Call of Cthulhu is a tabletop game, and the whole point of playing a game is have a good social experience with your other players, and hopefully have some fun as well. And Call of Cthulhu is a mystery horror game, so the fun is in delving into this mystery and confronting this kind of some sort of horror, which could be a strange cult or some monster from beyond the stars, and trying to deal with it and survive and win the day, and that can be a lot of fun. It's got its chills and thrills, but it's all healthy stuff. It's all all stuff on the gaming table. And the other thing, just to go back to what you said a minute ago about how accessible the game can be, the Call of Cthulhu is built on Chaosium's tried and tested basic role-playing system, which is a percentile dice system, and all our skills and character stats are all based on a 0 to 100 rating. So they're all percentages. So it's quite easy and accessible for anyone who's never gamed before to understand. If you have a strength of 80%, that's pretty strong. Whereas if you've got a strength of 10%, you automatically know that's a lot weaker. So it's a very intuitive system and very easy to take on and get to grips with. So, I think that that makes the game very accessible. In fact, more accessible than a lot of other kind of role-playing games out there. Some of them are more complicated, some of them are less. But we found it's got a 40-year history, Call of Cthulhu, and people seem to be able to just get into it very, very easily and very quickly.
Well, looks like you have acquired a couple of powers with the years, because you just guessed my next question. I was going to ask you about, there is this myth, this fake rivalry people have created, fans, between D&D players and Call of Cthulhu players, saying that, you know what, Call of Cthulhu, it's too advanced. You may need to just start, if you're going to start playing tabletops, just go directly to D&D while you get familiar and all that. I think this is some fake rivalry they have created. Fanboys are everywhere on any side. So you're saying that actually you don't need to be like an advanced player or a very experienced player to start with Call of Cthulhu. Is this correct? What will be the as a creative director and a long time player, what will be the first or any advice that you would like to give to someone who wants to start playing the game?
Yeah, sure. Yes, there is no there's no rules in terms of what games you can enjoy and play. It's just to say that you must play one role-playing game before another one is nonsense. It's like saying you can only watch television about police if you watch The Wire first. It makes no sense, So you can easily get into Call of Cthulhu if it's the first role-playing game you've ever played, and we do a box set. It's called the Call of Cthulhu Starter Set. I'll show you what it looks like. It looks like this, and it's designed. Oh, there you go. Can you see it better? There we go. My camera's going a bit weird. Going a bit weird. There you go. That's better. It's designed. It's called the Starter Set for a very reason. It's because it's for starter players, and you don't need to have played any other role-playing game before. You don't need to know anything about Cthulhu and what the game is to be able to start playing using that box set. And if you have already played a role-playing game, perhaps you have already started to play, you've been playing Dungeons and Dragons or RuneQuest or something powered by the Apocalypse game or whatever it is, that's cool, great. Well, you understand the concept of role-playing already. Now all you need to do is open the starter set box and get into Call of Cthulhu. And within half an hour, you will know the rules for Call of Cthulhu, probably less, because the core rules are very, very straightforward and simple. So you don't need any pre-knowledge to be able to get into the game. If running around dungeons and attacking and fighting dragons doesn't sound like your kind of fun, then that's why these other games exist. Call of Cthulhu, as I say, is where you play kind of normal people. You're not playing these kind of superhero kind of characters. You're playing regular folk in very dramatic and challenging situations, and delving into mysteries like private eyes and detectives, that kind of thing. And so that's quite a different kind of style and feel of game to some of the role-playing games. And that's why Call of Cthulhu is always a very, very popular game and continues to be played by thousands of people around the world, because it offers a very particular and unique kind of gaming experience that you don't really get with many other well-known role-playing games in that way. Just like Call of Cthulhu isn't Dungeons and Dragons, if you're looking to fight dragons, Call of Cthulhu isn't really the game for you. But likewise, if you're looking to hang around haunted houses and find out about mysteries, then Call of Cthulhu is the kind of game that might suit you in that way.
Oh, okay. So, well, now you can see you don't have to be married, or you don't have to be attached to just one game. There is a lot of options over there. Don't be that kind of guy, please. Okay. So, Mike, for example, for these couple expansions, Calls of Cthulhu and A Time to Harvest, and in general, what is the, what is the feedback you have received from players of things that needed to be corrected and have been corrected in these expansions, and you're thinking about maybe on a big expansion or a newer version of the game that you are focusing into correcting?
Well, we do a lot of work. We do a lot of work to make sure there aren't many errors, if any errors or corrections needed in the books that we put out. We do a lot of work, and we work with copy editors and proofreaders, as well as myself and our line editors, really developing the text to make it the best it can be, working alongside the writers as well to do that. So, but in terms of things like Time to Harvest, that had a very extensive playtesting period before it went into a book form. It was part of our volunteer organized play kind of program. And so many groups around the world play tested it for us and actually sent in their feedback and allowed us to modify some parts of the campaign that would work better based on that feedback. And one great example was there's a situation where people weren't quite sure where an event took place, because we hadn't really marked it very well on the map of the area. So we changed the map, and we gave a lot more information and advice on how to handle this situation in the new version of the campaign. So we use a lot of playtest and correction to fix things in scenarios. So yeah, but they're always evolving. If we do find mistakes in the future, then we look to correct them in the PDF. And then in another printing, a future printing, we may, correct that in there as well. But we try to keep all our books as correct as possible going forwards. And 7th edition, which is the current edition of Call of Cthulhu, has now been out. I'm trying to remember how long it's been out. It's been out, 5 to 7 years now. So more like 7 years, I think. And the game has really become very, very well established. So we're not really looking to change it in any great way, but we would, if we down the road, if we were to do an updated version of 7th edition, maybe a 7.5 edition, we would just look to tweak and smooth a few things, just to make things more easier to understand in terms of how we explain the rules. And make them a little bit more concise in places. It just really kind of tweaks rather than big changes, because we did all the big changes when we changed from 6th to 7th edition. The 7th edition was the first real big change for the game in quite some time. And And so those changes have worked really well. And so we're not really looking to do any more, big changes like we did with 7th edition.
Oh, okay. Now, talking about feedback, it is a feedback to post something on social media or maybe, but if a player would like to give an actual feedback, not just posting hate comments over there or in a forum, what is the best channel to send your feedback to Chaosium or to you?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's a couple of things. We actually have a website which is called Basic Roleplay Central, BRP Central. And on that site are forums for all of the games that Chaosium makes. And there's a Call of Cthulhu forum there. And on that forum, we often use that forum to collect where players have found a typo or a spelling error or some sort of correction. We can put them all in this one thread. So we can put a thread together and people can post their corrections. And so they can look at what everyone else has posted. And if they've only got the same corrections, they don't need to post them because they've already been submitted. And so that's a really, really useful way of doing it because you're not wasting your time because you can see where everyone's posted as corrections. And so you only need to post things if nobody else has spotted them. And then we collect those and then we go through them and we make the changes as necessary based on the kind of feedback we have through that forum. There are other ways, of course. You can email us, and our email addresses are available, on the chaosium.com website. And if you've got a particular question or you found an error in a Call of Cthulhu book, you can email the Call of Cthulhu line, and we'll pick that up. And if it's a different line like RuneQuest or Pendragon, they've got their own email addresses as well to do just that kind of thing. So you can get in touch with us directly through email or go to the forums, which have got loads of really cool information on the forums. And so I kind of, get people to advise them to go to the forum, BRP Central, to share their information and feedback.
All right. So now like I say, it's not the same just posting hate comments or things like that on the Chaosium or Call of Cthulhu social media than actually giving feedback. So those are the channels. If you have something you would like to suggest or would like to, them to correct, those are the ways. Okay. So now, Mike, one of the biggest features that that had my attention in Call of Cthulhu would be the Sanity system. When anyone familiar with the story or myth or whatever of Cthulhu know that people can get insane and all that. So what is the main what was the inspiration, or how did you guys came with the idea of the Sanity system? What are the parameters, or I don't know, what are the internal rules for this system, rules into the rules?
Yeah, sure. I mean, to go back, the game is 40 years old. Mm-hmm. And so the original edition of Call of Cthulhu was written by Sandy Peterson, who's the creator of the game. And so Sandy created the sanity mechanics in the rules, in the first edition, and they've been refined and developed as the different editions of the game have come forward. But ultimately, it's all down to one very simple concept. At the time, and it's still pretty much the case in the majority of role-playing games that are out there, is that your character, if your character survives through the adventures, they get better. They get more treasure, they get better skills, they get attributes and strength and all these kind of things, and they become more powerful. And with Call of Cthulhu, the Sanity system kind of reverses that and is an antithesis of that, because with the Cthulhu mythos, which is a kind of which is external and otherworldly to humanity, it's basically it kind of corrupts humanity in a way. It corrupts our view of the universe. and it corrupts ourselves and our morals and the way we look upon things, and so the acquisition of Cthulhu mythos is the acquisition of knowledge, this powerful knowledge of how the universe really works, all the unseen things in the universe. But at the same time, learning the truth of the universe is bad news for humans, because we can't cope with the universe, the reality of it. Our brains explode, kind of thing. It's too much. We're not meant to know these cosmic secrets. And so the Sanity system is a way to mechanically mirror that sort of situation, and that as you learn and your knowledge of the Cthulhu mythos goes up, your sanity, which is kind of like a mental hit points. So in the games where, like Dungeons and Dragons and many other games, you have hit points, which is your physical body and how much it can take before it collapses. Mental points, the sanity points, are the same thing for the mind. It's the mind gives up and blacks out or has amnesia to forget the horrors that it's learned. And so the sanity system is all about basically making the character weaker rather than stronger. The character gets weaker, but that's good because it's a narrative. It's all about, remember that the game is very much a horror mystery game, and in horror stories and horror films, characters don't become superheroes. They have to deal with these situations that affect and change them forever. And this is a way that your character in the game mechanically gets changed forever by the things you learn and the things you do in game. And so it becomes a lot more kind of, in a sense, realistic in terms of the character's narrative and story arc. And it gives meaning to the character. And so if a character, learns these things, but sacrifices themselves for the rest of humanity and to save their friends, it has a real meaning to it. They're not just throwing their lives away as a character. There's a real meaning to it as well. So in many ways, characters in the Call of Cthulhu game are very heroic, even though they don't act or seem like heroes. Their actions are very heroic, because it's all about trying to do the right thing to save their friends and their family and their town, city, and the world, against these horrors from space who just want to, eat us all and things like that.
All right. So, well, actually, I was going to ask you, my next question was going to be about, the main difference with other games, like they use a level system, and Call of Cthulhu uses a skill system. So now, well, you just answered my two questions in one answer. You're great. Like I said, you have powers. You can see my questions before they come.
I would just say on the difference between levels and skills, just so people understand. Skills are basically a character in Call of Cthulhu. You have a range of skills on your character sheet, and you pick what they are. Some of them are assigned to you. So, for instance, if I'm a private detective in the game, I'm probably going to have good communication skills to kind of draw information out from people I'm talking to. I might be quite good with punching as well, because I'm getting into some fights, and I'm probably good at maybe stealth, trailing people down the street kind of thing. But I probably don't know very many languages. I'm probably not very good at many other things. And so the skills on your sheet help to kind of define what your character is and what they can do. And as I mentioned before, all of the skills are percentages. So you have a percentage number for how good you are in a skill. So if you have fighting at 90%, that means you're a really good fighter. But if you've got speak French and it's just 12%, well, that's pretty low. So my French would be pretty bad. So it's very easy and quick to see what your character is good at and what they're not good at. And there's lots of kind of cool rules that help you to kind of make these roles and to use them in interesting ways. And it's not only interesting if you make a role, we also have rules that kind of make things interesting if you fail a role, because things can get worse and that kind of thing. So the rules are very very intuitive and very easy to use in that way.
All right. So now you know that is a question that one of our fans ask, and you say, we always saw the questions and we pick some of them and say, hey, this one is great. So thank you very much, guys. Another question over here would be the coming back to Calls of Cthulhu and A Time to Harvest. If you will pick one of the new one of the features of this new expansion and campaign, as like the biggest feature of them, which one would you pick for each of them? Like the biggest addition to the game on them.
It's quite hard to just pick one for both the books, but for Cults of Cthulhu, the main thing about this book is that it's about Cthulhu, and Cthulhu in the game is this big kind of alien godlike thing, but there's been very little in the Call of Cthulhu game actually written about Cthulhu. So this book is all about Cthulhu. So if you want to know all the lore and all the secret stuff, it's full of that, and it has mechanics and advice for how to create a group of villains, a group of antagonists for your game. So a cult of Cthulhu, how they operate, what their mission is, how do they worship Cthulhu, and how do you make them interesting for the players to battle, to fight against in the games that you run. So it has all that kind of really cool information in, as well as I say, these 3 scenarios that are ready to play as well, where we have predefined and written these different kind of styles of Cthulhu cults. So it's a fantastic book in terms of trying to understand and build plots around cults and particularly around Cthulhu, but it's got all this information that's never been published before. It's never been out there. There's who controls the Cthulhu cult, who are the deathless masters who secretly control the cult, around the world. There's information on those that's never been written before, never been presented before. So there's lots of really cool new kind of stuff in the book as well. But in terms of the other book, Time to Harvest, The Time to Harvest, this one, there we go, that's it.
Yeah, I can see it.
This is a campaign. Mm-hmm. And what's really cool about this is that it's a campaign that you don't need to be an experienced group of players or an experienced keeper or GM to run it. It's a very tightly focused campaign set in New England of North America, and it's set in the 1930s. Mm-hmm. And basically, if you're new to the game, there's a lot of help and advice to run the campaign, to make sure you feel confident to be able to run it, and have a great time. And so it's a really good first campaign to run if you're new to the game. Equally, if you're experienced, it's a campaign that's set in New England and set in Arkham and the Miskatonic University, and also Vermont, which are all places that appear in the original fiction of from where the game is based from. And so there's a lot of fun to be had, whether you're new to the game or very experienced in the game. There's different things you're going to find that appeal to you with A Time to Harvest. But ultimately, its key selling point is it's a really cool and very easy to run campaign for groups who want to have more than just a one-shot, one-night game. They want to kind of have an extended game that runs over a series of weeks or months. Then A Time to Harvest is exactly that kind of fun.
Great. Oh, okay. So now those are the big Cthulhu fans, as you can see, never published before information, more focus on the guy whose name is on the game. And also, A Time to Harvest is a good campaign to start playing. Like we said, it's a myth that you need to be very advanced to play this game. It's for everyone. So, now another question from our fans. In this case, the keeper, but in other games it's called the dungeon master or whatever. it's like the guy who keeps everyone together and makes the adventure interesting because of the way they tell stories. They can even act. Some of them are very theatrical, and they prepare and write on and everything. So if there is a bad keeper, you know, everything crumbles. People get bored. They just leave the game, or they just even vote to, you know, change the keeper. So as a player, and also as well part of the game, it's on its insights, what is the best advice you can give to a keeper?
Wow, that's a big question, but the best advice is to just enjoy it, because if you're enjoying it, then your players hopefully are enjoying it too. The other advice that goes with that is to listen to your players, to talk with them, to understand what they are looking for from the game, or the particular kind of experience that they want from a particular adventure, and to work with them to build that experience together. And it's although you are, as keeper, in control of the game, you aren't. It's not that you are the king of the game. It's not that, you know, everything you say must happen. It's a collaborative game with the players as well. So you all bring something to the game to have a shared experience. The keeper brings a plot, and the players bring how they're going to react and shape the plot, because the plot will change based on the players' decisions and their actions. And as a keeper, rather than fight the direction the players want to go in, you know, try and work with them and build in their ideas to the game where you can, to make it that shared experience, because everyone will have a good time that way. My other advice is we've actually just put out a book called Keeper Tips, which is full of advice for keepers from a range of different experienced keepers who have written a range of kind of advice and tips and guidance and good ideas that any Call of Cthulhu keeper, whether you're new or old, will find useful. And that's a small little book we've just put out called The Keeper's Tips, and you can get that from the Chaosium website. And that's my other tip for a keeper, is to read that book, and you will find loads of good advice in there. There's also, if you have the Call of Cthulhu Keeper rulebook, the main core rulebook for the game, there's a whole chapter of advice there called Running the Game. And in that, we talk about how to design scenarios, how to work with your players, how to describe monsters, how to use spells, all this really cool kind of information to help you be a really good keeper in the game, because that's what we want to try and help you to be, is a really good keeper. Because if you're a really good keeper, then you'll enjoy your game and your players will too. But the most important rule for being a keeper is to have an open mind and to listen and work with your players.
All right. So now, you know, guys, that's the way to keep everyone interested in the game, because in the end, if there are no players, there is no game, right, Mike?
That's right, yes.
You know, now let's talk about more like, well, Mike Mason. About Mike Mason, sorry. You know, a lot of people who work with fantasy, it's in their line of job, it's their work actually. They do, you know, on their free time, they do other stuff. You know, some of them watch sports, some of them go to the movies, some of them like to see gossip TV shows, things like that. What are your non-fantasy hobbies, Mike, or any guilty pleasure, something that keeps you away for a moment from fantasy and
sure,
maybe insanity?
sure.
And something that you do that is not related to fantasy.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, I do a lot of gamings, whether they're role-playing or board games or even computer games. That's all that kind of thing. But my other kind of interests are, I enjoy photography and taking photographs. I've always enjoyed doing that. I've got a cat, and who I you know, look after, and he's the kind of boss of the house, so I kind of, you know, have to, you know, look after him. But I also, you know, I love watching, you know, films, but I do like horror films and science fiction films and so on. And but I also am a big fan of cop dramas on TV like The Wire, and I've also just been watching Billions, and the one I really enjoyed that I've just watched is Severance, which is a new TV series, which is full of strange things going on in an office, which is kind of cool. So I like watching that. I'm a big reader, but I read a lot of horror and fantasy books as well. But the one I'm just rereading at the moment, because I've not read it in many years, is a complete classic book, which is Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is a fantastic book, and I recommend anyone to read it. If you've never read any Ray Bradbury, read some Ray Bradbury, because he's a genius. But that's the kind of stuff I do. I like drinking coffee and whiskey, and just hanging out and having a good chat with my friends. So all normal things that everyone else does, I do too.
Oh, okay. So now there is this is Mike Mason. He's also a human being like us. People tend to think that everyone is people. How can I say it? Into the industry, into the otherworldly people, and no, he's a guy who likes to chat with his friends. He's into cartography, watch horror movies, drink some coffee and whiskey and things like that. So he's a guy just like us, but with a better job. But okay. Now into the industry by itself, thanks to COVID, we went from the humanity to humanity, and tabletop games, have a big increase on their sales and all, because basically people could not do anything else. And now as part of the industry, and now that the pandemics, looks like it's over, unless there is a new species of COVID, or now the monkeypox or whatever, and we will have to be again inside. What is the biggest challenge in your opinion for the industry to maybe keep these people who took tabletop games because there was nothing else to do, to keep them? Because obviously some people will leave it, but what is the challenge for you to get this to have this audience to stay with you?
I think it's just ensuring that the material that we can provide as the industry and the mechanisms to play the game are useful, easy to use, and enjoyable. If we continue to put out really good content that people want to read and they want to engage with through the game, then that's part of it. But also working, people playing online, they're able to now play with people around the world that previously, it was very difficult to do that without, before, Zoom and virtual tabletops and all that kind of stuff. But now that they're there, looking to kind of build on what already exists and to make it, more streamlined, easy to use, have adventures preloaded onto the different kind of virtual tabletops, so people literally just have to, choose which one they want to do, and they can buy it or whatever, and then it's ready to actually play. They haven't got to do a lot of preparation work in terms of getting the material online. And so that's one of the things that we're doing at Chaosium. We have people who are, who work for us, who are developing the books that we make into virtual tabletop materials. So you can get, at some point you'll be able to get a Time to Harvest as a virtual campaign to be to use on, something like the Foundry VTT or Roll20 or whatever the system may be, to make it easier for you to enjoy and run the game. I think that's really the challenge for the whole industry, is to make things as flexible and as easy and enjoyable to use to keep people playing, if that's what they choose to do. Because at the end of the day, playing tabletop role-playing games is not only fun, it's really cool because you get to hang out with your friends, and it's one of those kind of hobbies that you have to do with your friends. It's not like bird watching or train spotting, which you kind of do on your own and you don't really have any social life to that. This is a hobby that's got a very wide kind of social group. So you can not only get together with old friends and family, you can make many new friends through role playing. Most people I know have made lots of friends through role playing, meeting them in games, whether that's at a convention or at the local gaming club, or meeting online, answering an announcement on a forum to say, would you like to play in this virtual game? And saying yes, and then meeting new people and actually finding that you're building and making new friends as well. So I think that's all really positive kind of stuff, and allows for really allows for a diversity of voices and people from all around the world to kind of come together, and which just opens up new possibilities in terms of meeting people, experiencing different things from different cultures and so on, which is all really cool and really good stuff. So I think it's a really exciting time to be playing role-playing games. But it's always a challenge to ensure that the quality of the material and the ease of access to it is maintained, and we want to make it as easy as possible to enjoy the kind of stuff that we make and do.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Like you say, it's like hanging with your friends, but also like in a different world, just to call it in a way. Also, well, the mainstream media portrayal of RPGs have become also help general audience to see what is an actor RPG. Big Bang Theory. A lot of people hate Big Bang Theory, but whether they like it or not, it also helped for people to see, there is this thing, it exists. Stranger Things, even this Lords of Metal new Netflix movie, they play an RPG, very particular board game. So those kind of stuff. Sorry, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, you've got that on television programs.
Yeah.
But on YouTube, obviously, you've got people actually playing role-playing games and presenting them as kind of YouTube TV shows, and people are watching those and can follow the stories and the characters and engage with those just kind of like a TV show. And so if you want to know a little bit more about what a role-playing game is, a tabletop role-playing game is, and how they work and how they sort of the stories that they can tell, you can just get onto YouTube now and video platforms and watch people playing. And in fact, thousands upon thousands of people do that all the time and really enjoy watching other people play. And sometimes you end up, getting into it yourself and you start videoing your games and sharing them with other people. It's a whole new kind of side to this TTRPG that has only really happened in the last 10 years, with the accessibility of video and the internet.
Yeah, and well, also like YouTube, Twitch, these new platforms that allows people to say, hey, what is that? Maybe I should try it. So I know what you mean. So it also helps you on that. Now, with Chaosium, I know, but Call of Cthulhu maybe like the like how can I say the house special, no? But there are many other products for Chaosium. And I know that this is some kind of like asking to choose for one of your children, but what other of the Chaosium products would you recommend people to try? I know there are many of them, but which one would you also would like to recommend to give them a chance? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to what interests you in terms of the kind of subject matter. So my favorite subject matter is kind of horror and mystery. So Call of Cthulhu is my favorite game, which is why I do the work on that game. However, another interest of mine is King Arthur, the Arthurian legends of old England and the Knights of the Round Table, which is really interesting kind of folklore. Chaosium makes a game that's called King Arthur Pendragon, where you play Knights of the Round Table and go forth on adventures. And that's a really cool game. So that's one I really like as well. But if neither mystery or King Arthur's interests you, maybe you are more interested in the kind of fantastical kind of fantasy with monsters and dealing with strange situations in a fantasy world, then RuneQuest and Glorantha. RuneQuest is our other big game, which I guess is a kind of on the other side of the coin to Dungeons and Dragons. It's similar in that it's fantasy, but it's a much more grittier and kind of realistic game, and it uses a skills system rather than a level system, and combat is really deadly. And but everyone, if you want to, can use magic. It's not only certain characters can. Anyone can use magic. Anyone can get really good at combat, or you can, get good at different things. Whatever you want to focus your character on, you can develop it in that way. And the stories are all set in this world called Glorantha, which is this fantastically detailed, adventuring world with all sorts of things going on and strange creatures. They've got a walktopus, which is like an octopus on legs that walks around the land, and they've got ducks. You can play a duck who's an intelligent duck that can speak and wear armor and fight with a sword and all these kind of crazy things as well. So RuneQuest is really cool. But the other game I would mention, if you like pirates and adventures on the sea, then there's a game called 7 where you play these kind of seafaring peoples and pirates and so forth, and have these grand kind of very kind of great adventures and swashbuckling with swords and all that kind of thing, which is really cool as well. But they're all, as you can see, all quite different in terms of the kind of style of game and the subject matter that they focus on. But they all make up, the kind of some of the core games that Chaosium is very well known for. And they all use very similar systems, not exactly the same, but very similar systems. And so once you've played one of them, it's very easy to learn, the other games as well. So there's all these things. I mean, I like Call of Cthulhu, and I guess my next favorite is Pendragon. But then I love RuneQuest and playing 7C too when I get the chance. But yeah, so that's just a few things. But you can find out all about these games on our website at chaosium.com, and all of them have their own pages and information and free downloads to have a go at the game. You can try all our games out pretty much for free if you want to give them a go to see if they're the kind of game you might like to play more of.
So now guys, you can go to chaosium.com. You can get like Mike just said, free downloads. You can get like a general features of what you're looking for, and like I say, if maybe horror mystery is not your cup of tea, but you are into other stuff, Chaosium has a lot of products for you. You can also go to your local store, your local hobby store, and ask for them. And if not, just start a riot until they do. So until they get the books over there. No. We're peaceful. We're peaceful people. I'm just joking, okay? So let's just keep the chaos for the RPG, not in the real world, please. We already have a lot of stuff going on for that. So Mike, thank you so much for this interview. I think that people who's playing, who's thinking about playing, or they didn't know anything about tabletop RPGs, will keep something from this, and really appreciate your time. Just one last thing, would you like to leave just a message or advice for people, for our audience over there, even if they play or not?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Lewis, and it's really great to get to talk about Call of Cthulhu. And I hope, as you say, that what I've said is some of it has been useful or somebody will find helpful. But the main thing is just to say, I just wanted to say hi to everyone over there. Thanks for your support. Thanks for trying out Chaosium games and Call of Cthulhu. And we hope whatever game you play, you're having a great time with your friends and family. And it's all about having fun and having great times together. So hopefully now in this as we're getting past the whole COVID thing, that we can get back to, getting together and enjoying great games and just enjoying being with our friends and family. So that's the message. And thanks for giving me time to be with you.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike, and hope to see you in Mexico. Have you been here, by the way?
I've never been to Mexico. It's somewhere I would love to go to. So hopefully one day we can meet up in person. That would be really cool.
That would be great. Actually, we just had this big tabletop and convention last week, so I think I will ask them to, well, if you're okay with that, maybe giving them your email or something to see if they can.
You never know. You never know. You never know what could happen. I was just a guest at a big event in Poland actually, and that was really cool. Get to meet a whole bunch of new people and see how their games are happening in Poland. And so it's really nice to be able to visit different countries and meet people who all come together by playing the same games. It's one of those really cool things about what I do, that I get to meet people from all around the world, and that's really cool. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. And well, my friends at C506, this man was Mike Mason, creative director of Chaosium and a big geek player. Thank you so much, Mike. Bye, guys.
Thank you.